All right, good evening to all stations on frequency. Today is Sunday, February 18, 2024. My name is Tony, Kilo 7, Zulu Echo X-Ray, and this is the Henderson Amateur Radio Club's Sunday Night Net. Welcome to everybody. This net is sponsored by and for the members of the Henderson Amateur Radio Club every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. local time. This is the control net. I will be your net controller. Emergency or priority traffic should break into the net and call net control at any time. So if there is any emergency or priority traffic, please call into net control now. Okay, each week the HARC network is joined by several affiliated repeaters, which enable us to provide coverage to the Las Vegas Valley, Pahrump, Amargosa Valley, and Los Angeles. In addition to our own repeaters, there are dozens of All-Star and Echolink connections from around the country. Join us on a weekly basis. Repeater information and node numbers can be found on the W7HEN.org's repeater page. It's easy to become a member of this fast-growing organization. Membership gives you access to the club's members-only webpage and the W7HEN.groups.io page. Both of these contain a lot of information that may be of interest to you, the amateur radio operator. Just click the visit the W7HEN.org and click on the Join Now button. Also a reminder, the HARC repeaters use courtesy tones. Please don't forget to wait for the beep. Okay, stations with early traffic for the net, please call net control now. Alrighty, QSTs follow. The HARC President, Bill, N4NJJ, is pleased to announce the appointment of Ryan Wright, KJ7ABK, to the Board of Directors as a Director at Large. Ryan replaces Daniel, N2NJB, who took over Secretary duties. Okay, the next general membership meeting is going to be held on Tuesday, the 27th of 2024. And this month, we're asking members to show off their portable operation stations at the meeting. This includes POTA, SOTA, and MCOM setups, even handy talkies. And if you load a portable station like P25 or C4FM or D-Star, those would be especially welcome. And if you can't attend the meeting, we're interested in your portable equipment. If you want to send pictures of your setup to Vice President at W7HEN.org, we may find we have enough interest and involvement in portable operations to have future HARC outdoor portable events. General membership meetings are held on the fourth Tuesday of each month. They start at 6 p.m. and are located at the American Legion BMI Post 40 Hall, located on 425 East Van Wagenen Street in Henderson. There will be a Board of Directors meeting on February 22 on Zoom. The meeting will start at 6:30 p.m. There will be a Tuesday morning breakfast meeting this Tuesday, February the 20th. The breakfasts are held at the Skyline Hotel and Casino Restaurant. That one's located on South Highway in Henderson. There's no official start time, but people generally arrive anytime between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m., most getting there around 8 a.m. You do not have to be a member to attend HARC's general membership meetings or breakfast meetings. Anyone with an interest in amateur radio is welcome to any of those meetings. And if you haven't already, please take time to visit our Ham Club online account and renew your dues for the upcoming year. Thank you for your participation in the club. The American Legion Amateur Radio Club, TALARC, their meeting was held February 14 at 6 p.m. at the Henderson Legion Post 40 Annex. That's a little portable building right next door there. The meetings are held the second Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. Discussed at the meeting was the February 3 balloon launch, which is doing quite well. Another balloon launch is contemplated, this time possibly adding CW, temperature, and barometric pressure sensing, along with a battery to increase transmitter uptime. The American Legion Post Annex is located on 425 East Van Wagenen Street, that's in Henderson. The Annex is the modular unit just to the right of the main building. If you are a new ham looking for some practical amateur radio advice, we encourage you to try the Henderson Amateur Radio Club's new Hamnet. That's held on Thursday evenings, and it starts at 6 p.m. All right, the Net's moderators, Steve KJ7RNB and Gene N7WDZ, are very good at getting new hams comfortable with the protocols, customs, and good operating procedures that are a part of ham radio. It gets great reviews from new hams. It's a great place to learn, so give it a try. The New Hams Net, Thursdays at 6 p.m. on these same frequencies. Okay, that's the end of tonight's QSTs. Roll call follows. The roll call roster is updated every week. Your call sign will be called if you have checked in at least one time during the past 4 weeks. When responding to net control, please indicate which repeater you're using. The repeater information helps the club make sure the repeater coverage is what we think it should be. And if you have a short 1 minute or less comment or short announcement, those are always welcome on this net. Just mention that your comments when you check in. And if you have any additional traffic that could take a bit longer than a minute, just indicate that you have additional traffic when you're checking in. You'll be acknowledged, and you'll be asked to stand by with your traffic. The roll call will continue on, and once the initial roll call is complete, net control will call you back and ask for your traffic. After the additional traffic, net control will call for late, missed check-ins, or visitors. Okay, roll call begins. We'll begin tonight with Andrew, KC8QOK. How about John, KJ7MHB?
This is John, KJ7MHB, coming in via H1, Silverado Ranch, and Bermuda Avenue. No further traffic.
Thank you, John. Coming in with a good signal there. This is K7ZEX. All right, quick station ID there. Next up we have Mike, KK7HQB.
W7HEN, repeater.
This is Mike, KK7HQP, coming in on Echo Link, no traffic.
Thank you, Mike. Next up we have Aaron, KJ7MNE. How about Virginia, KJ7MNF?
This is Virginia, KJ7MNF on Echo Link.
Thank you, Virginia. Next up we have Bob, KK7J. Okay, Sam, KK7OSJ.
Sam here, KK7OSJ, coming through H1.
Thank you, Sam. Good signal. Next up we have Rick, KG7UYS. How about John, AB7M? Next up we have Dave, W3QQQ.
Doing a great job tonight, Tony. From Sun City, Summerlin, this is Dave, W3QQQ, on a Motorola XTL5000 outside Yagi antenna. And it's a great Sunday. W3QQQ, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Dave. Next up we have Jerry, W8JRC.
Evening, Tony and Annette. This is W8JRC Jerry on the N1H2 repeater. No further traffic.
Thank you, Jerry. Next up we have Frank, N2DKI.
Good evening, Tony. Everyone on the net, Frank, N2DKI. I'm H6, downtown Henderson on a handheld.
Thank you, Frank. Next up we have Michael, WN7CTS. Next up is Drew, KJ7PAR.
This is Drew coming in on All-Star, KJ7PAR. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Drew. Next up we have Tyler, KJ7ABN. Thank you, Tyler. Got you checked in on Echo Link there. Next up we have Sean, K2STC.
Good evening, everyone on the net. This is Sean, K2STC,
I'm coming in on Alpha 1 this evening from Seven Hills area. No further traffic. Back to net control, K2STC.
Thank you, Sean. Good signal there. Next up, we have Tim, K7JTC.
Good evening, Tony, and the rest of the net. Tim, K7JTC. And thanks for taking the net tonight. It's appreciated. Coming to you through Hotel 1 on a Yaesu 991 with antenna, grid power. No further traffic. Back to net control, K7JTC.
Thank you, Tim. Next up, we have Bill, W7WDJ.
Good evening, everybody. This is Bill, W7WDJ, coming to you on my Linko MD520. Mobile is the base on H1 from Seven Hills. W7WDJ, no further traffic.
Thank you, Bill. Good signal there. Next up, we have Tommy, KB7HTA.
Evening, Tony. And the net, KB7HTA, coming this evening through H1 using an IC7100 GP3 antenna and grid power, no traffic.
Thank you, Tommy. Next up, we have Bob, KC7EO. How about Brian, KK7COE?
This is Brian, KK7COZ. I'm coming in on N1H2 on a Yaesu FD5DR. Back to net control.
Thank you, Brian. We have checked in there. Next up, we have Tim, W9AYK.
This is Tim, W9AYK on H2.
Thank you, Tim. We have checked in on H2 there. Next up, we have Scott, KK6DZ.
Good evening, everyone on the net. Tonight I'm checking in through H1 using my Kenwood B71 mobile as a base with a dual band vertical in the attic. Nothing further. Back to net control. KK6DZ.
Thank you, Scott. Next up, we have Steve, N6SFX. Next up is myself, Tony, K7ZEX. I'm using repeater Hotel 1 tonight, using mobile as a base, outside antenna, and grid power. Next up, we have Linum, KK7BUD.
Greetings, all. This is Linum, KK7BUD on H2N1 split, North Las Vegas, Alexander and Fish Street on a Motorola XPR 4550 that I picked up from Earl some time ago, and I love it with an outside antenna. So with that, no further traffic. Everyone have a wonderful day today. So long. KK7BUD.
Thank you, Linum. Got you checked in H2. Next up, we have Bill, N4NJJ. How about Darren, KJ7UCS?
Everyone on the net, KJ7UCS, Darren. I'm using an ICOM ID52 handheld battery power coming through H1. No further traffic, back to net control, KJ7UCS.
Thank you, Darren. I've checked in H1. Next up, Carol, KF4KF.
Hey, Tony. Happy Sunday evening. It was a beautiful day. I hope everybody got outside and got some sunshine. This is Carol, KF4KF. I'm coming through on the same ICOM ID52 through H1. Hope you're having a great day. Back to net.
Thank you, Carol. It was a great day. And next up, we have Leo, KK7GPH. This is K7ZEX. No station ID there. Next up, we have Alan, KG0Q.
W7HEN, repeater, H2.
How about K7KSG?
Good evening, Tony in the net, K7KSG, broadcasting into H2, a FT991 tonight with a vertical antenna, the antenna outside on the map. Back to net.
Thank you, Keith. I'll be checked on H2. Next up, we have Jerry, KD7YMO.
Good evening, Tony, and the rest of that. This is Jerry, KD7YMO. On ICOM mobile, on grid power, outside GP6, and on H2. No further traffic. Back to net control. KD7, YMO.
Thank you, Jerry. Checked in H2. Next up, we have Mike, KM7, MLH. How about Matt, W7SWA?
It is a Matt, W7SWA, using All-Star and a Sherry node, and going through my FT3 Yaesu. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Matt. Have you checked in All-Star? Next up, we have Gene, N7WDZ.
Good evening, everybody. This is Gene, N7WDZ. This is the Northwest Centennial Hills area, going into the N1H2 split on a Motorola 4550 on grid power to a GP6 on the roof. I just wanted to make one correction to an email you said before, Tony. It's vice-president at w7hen.org if anybody wants to send in those pictures to me for the upcoming meeting. All right, that's all I got. Thank you for that. Back to you.
Thank you for the clarification there, Gene. We'll have you checked in N1H2. Next up, we have Peter, KJ7CZI.
Good evening, Tony. This is Peter, KJ7CZI, transmitting using a handheld on A1. No further traffic. Back to net control.
Thank you, Peter. On A1, next up, we have Joe, KO7CAB.
Good evening, Tony, and everyone on the net. This is Joe, KO7CAB, coming in on H2 using a Yaesu FT60 battery power and rubber duck. Further back to the net, KO7.
Thank you, Joe. Just barely make you out there, but I got you checked in on H2. Next up, we have Chad, KK7NYE.
This is Chad, KK7NYE. Happy to be a new member. Thank you for running the net. Back to net control.
Thank you, Chad. Next up, we have Linda, KJ7OWF. How about Shane, KG7QWH? How about Steve, KJ7RNB? Looking for Robert, N7FLR.
Coming in through All-Star, KJ7RNB.
Oops, sorry, I got you just checked in on All-Star there, Steve. Next up, we have Larry, K7LPK.
Larry, K7LPK, coming in tonight through my Sherry All-Star node on a Yaesu FT70DR, rubber duck antenna, battery power. Back to net, K7LPK.
Thanks, Larry. Checked in on All-Star. Next up, Jeff, KK7OFT. How about Vincent, N7VJK?
Vincent, N7VJK, coming through All-Star.
Thank you, Vincent. Checked in on All-Star. Next up, we have Dave, KF7JAF.
Good evening, Tony the Net, KF7JAF in Northwest Vegas, coming in on the N1H2 split using a handheld twin outside antenna. No further traffic. Back to net control.
Thank you, Dave. Next up, we have Kathleen, KJ7QMU.
Good evening, Tony in the Net, KJ7QMU with a Yaesu handheld with an aftermarket diamond antenna on the H2N1 split, KJ7QMU.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next up, we have Chuck, KJ7ETZ. How about Dane, KK7PDC? Looking for Mike, KJ7LOO.
This is Mike, KJ7LOO, coming in this evening through Echo Link with no additional traffic. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mike. Have you checked in on Echo Link? Next up is Gene, KG7XD.
Good evening, Tony. This is Gene, KG7XD, on a Yaesu FT5 handheld with an aftermarket antenna, Diamond SRH999, a quad band antenna. 1 watt, indoors across the valley to the A1 repeater.
Thank you, Gene. Signal sounds great with just 1 watt there. I got you checked in on the A1. Next up we have Wayne, N7HWM.
Good evening, Tony in the net. Wayne, N7HWM on H1 with an IC9700 connected to a Ventana on the grid. No traffic. Back to net control.
Thank you. Next up we have Bill, KJ7KJV.
Good evening, Tony in the net. This is Bill, KJ7KJV, coming to you tonight through H1, Kenwood D74 handheld, indoor and aftermarket antenna, no additional traffic, KJ7KJV.
Thank you, Bill. Have you checked in on H1 there. Next up is Glenn, N8HC.
Hey, good evening to the net. This is Glenn, November 8 Hotel California, coming into the net via H3 on a Radio Audi HT I have. No traffic, back to net.
Thank you, Glenn. Next up is Dave, KJ7WGH.
Yes, thank you. This is Dave, KJ7WGH, St. George, Utah, Echolink, KJ7WGH, back to you.
Thank you, Dave. On Echolink, next up is Ralph, KI7ZOI.
W7.
SK7ZOI, coming in on C1, using a 50-watt mobile as a base. No traffic.
Thank you, Ralph. Have you checked in on C1 there? This is K7ZX. Next up we have Ralph, KT7BNP. Next up we have Dan, W7IBK. How about Chuck, N2CLN?
Good evening, everyone on net. Chuck here, N2CLN. Up to Green Valley Ranch. Yeah, Echolink. Or excuse me, All-Star.
All right, Chuck, have you checked in on All-Star there? Next up, we're looking for Frank, KK7BUA.
Good evening, Tony. Good evening to the net. This is Frank, KK7BUA, coming to you through Echolink. No further traffic, and thanks for doing the net, Tony.
Thanks, Frank. My pleasure. We have checked in on Echolink. Next up, we have Daniel, N2NJB. How about Jim, KJ7ZSS?
N1 split. No further traffic.
Thank you, Jim. Just barely make out your signal there, but we'll have you checked in. Next up, we have James, KK7IMD.
How you doing, Tony in the net? James, KK7IMD, coming to you on Hotel 2 on a Motorola XTS 2500. No further traffic. Back to net.
Thank you, James. And H2, next up we have Darren, WS7R.
Good evening, Tony in the net. This is Darren, WS7R, coming to you from Mission Hills and Henderson into the N182 split on the Anytone 878 with diamond antenna, battery power, no further traffic.
Thank you, Darren. Next up we have Steve, KJ6WCS. Next up is Andy, KJ7RFN.
This is KJ7RFN going from Lake Mead onto the 905 North with hitting H2 with my XPR4550 from Earl. Thanks for having me on the net, KJ7RFN. Back to you.
Thank you, Andy. Have you checked in on H2? Next up we have Norm, W2AD.
Good evening to everybody on the net. This is Norm, W2AD, coming in on H1 using a Yaesu FDM 500. Back to net.
Thank you, Norm. On H1, next up we have Lawrence, N6YFN.
Good evening, Tony. Coming in on a test node tonight, sitting on the bench with no traffic. Thanks for doing the net. Sounding great. N6YFN.
Thank you, Lawrence. We'll have you checked in there. Next up, we have Rocky, W7NVS.
This is Rocky, W7NVS. No further traffic. Back to you at net control.
Thanks, Rocky. We'll have you checked in. Next up, we have Glenn, W7GPS.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt. This is Glenn, W7GPS. Tonight I'm using All-Star 44045. I have no traffic. Back to net control, W7GPS.
Thank you, Glenn. All-Star. Next up, we have Ricky, K4KWF. How about Alberts, KK7NML?
Good evening to the net. This is Kilo 7 November Mike Lima, using an Amazon generic 25-watt mobile on grid power with a Yagi towards H1. No further traffic. Back to net control. Kilo 7 NML.
Thank you, Albert, on H1. Next up, we have Dave, AK7I.
Good evening, Tony, and to the net. I'm getting to you through Peter Hotel 1, radiating one lot from my mag mount on top of the roof. And back to you, no further traffic. AK7I.
Thank you, Dave. H1, excellent signal for 1 watt. Next up, we have Kenyon, KK7HGW. Next up, we have David, W7JCK. Gene, KB6CMO.
KB6CMO, Gene in Anaheim on Charlie 1. No traffic. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Gene. C1. Next up is Ruben, KD6CWI. Looking for Stan, WA6NGU.
WA6NGU on H3, East Henderson.
Thank you, Stan. Have you checked out on H3? Next up is Don, W7DGU. Looking for J, KT5LA. How about Bill, N2THO?
M2THO on H1, using mobile rig as the base into vertical off grid power. No further traffic. Back to you.
Thank you, Bill. On H1, next up we have Norm, K7NOR.
It's Norm, K7NOR here on E-Tech radio with the J-pole antenna here in Sun City, Summerlin. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Norm. Next up we have Ryan, KJ7ABK.
W7HEN, repeater, H2.
And good evening, Tony, and the rest of that. This is Ryan, KH7ABK, coming tonight on H1. No further traffic, back to net control.
Thank you, Ryan. I've checked in on H1. Next up we have Oscar, KK7MYO. How about Paul, KD6SIN? Looking for Mike, K6AAN. Next up we have Anthony, KN6VBV. About Tracy, KJ7FPP. How about Adam, NX7T?
Good evening, Tony, and the rest of the net. Coming tonight on A1 using the ICOM base station on grid power. No further traffic. NX7T back to net.
Thanks, Adam. Have you checked out A1 there? Next up we have Roger, N6DMS. How about Jerry, KD7OKK?
Good evening to the net. This is Jerry, KD7OKK. H1, no further traffic.
Thanks, Jerry. Have you checked in on H1 there? Are there any late check-ins or stations that I missed their acknowledgement? If so, please call into net control now.
Alpha Kilo 6, Romeo Mike, in and out.
Call sign, I got Oscar 6 Romeo Mike. Sorry, I didn't get the prefix.
That would be Alpha Kilo 6 Romeo Mike. Just a quick in and out.
Roger, Roger. Alpha Kilo 6 Romeo Mike. Any other stations?
Late check-in.
Yes, sir. That last station was the late check-in. Your call sign again.
KB7 BMP.
Roger that, KN7 BMP. Any other stations?
This is Whiskey Victor 3 Victor WV 3V.
Sorry, got Whiskey Victor 3, and what was the rest?
Yeah, good evening. This is Whiskey Victor 3 Victor WV 3V Jason, North Las Vegas, coming to you through H2 on Anytone Mobile as a base, grid power, dual band antenna in the backyard. WV 3V.
Roger that. WV 3V will have checked in on H2. Any other late check-ins? Okay, do we have any visiting stations wishing to check in? Please call net control now. Alright, how about one final call for late check-ins, or additional traffic, or missed acknowledgements, or visiting stations? Anybody call net control now.
How about one quick check from KG7XD? You seemed impressed with one lot. This is a tenthable lot.
Roger, Roger. Any other check-ins tonight? Okay, so how about a quick recap for tonight? There will be a Tuesday morning breakfast meeting. It's going to be this Tuesday, February the 20th. That's at the Skyline Hotel. That one's on Boulder Highway, south. Most people arrive around 8 a.m. Also, there is a Board of Directors meeting. That was scheduled for February 22. That's going to start at 6:30 p.m. and it's on Zoom. Also, the next HARC General Membership meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 27. This month, we encourage our members to show us your portable station. General membership meetings are held at the American Legion BMI Post, number 40. That's located on East Van Wagenen Street. Also, if you haven't renewed already, please log into your Ham Club Online account and renew your Henderson Amateur Radio Club membership. And thanks in advance for your participation. Also, tune into these same frequencies every Thursday at 6 p.m. for the new Hamsnet. More information about these and other activities can be found on the W7HEN.org website. Just visit the site and click on Calendar. Alright, also, being a net control operator is a valuable skill to have, and it's a skill that gets better with practice. So if you're interested in becoming a net control operator for the Sunday Night Net, even if you can only sign up for one net per quarter, send an email to netcontrol@w7hen.org, and we'll get you started. And of course, thank you in advance for your help. And of course, we're always looking for ways to better serve our members. So if you have any ideas, suggestions, or comments, please send the information to any board member. Their email addresses can be found at w7hen.org/meet the team page. And also, if you'd like to become a Henderson Amateur Radio Club member, just visit that same website, when.org. Click on the Join Now button. I'd like to have you on board. All right, thank you all for participating this evening. This is going to conclude the Henderson Amateur Radio Club Sunday Night Net. I'm now going to return the W7HEN repeater network back to regular use. At this time, everyone stay safe. 73 K7 VEX.